In a quiet suburban neighborhood, a teenager named Lily was known for her love of babysitting. This wasn't a mere hobby for Lily, it was a passion. Her reputation as a reliable babysitter was well earned. Parents trusted her, and kids adored her. But on one stormy evening, her usual cheerful babysitting adventures took an unexpected turn. A desperate call came from Mrs. Johnson, a mother of two. Her regular sitter had cancelled at the 11th hour, leaving her in a lurch. With an important work event to attend, she was in dire need of a babysitter. Lily, being the reliable girl that she was, agreed to help. Upon her arrival at the Johnsons' charming yet old-fashioned house, the storm outside seemed to rage even harder. The children, Emily and Jake, greeted her with excitement. Lily was left alone with them as Mrs. Johnson exited the house hurriedly, promising to return as soon as she could. Once alone with the children, Lily decided to make the best of the situation. She was, after all, a seasoned babysitter, and she knew how to keep children entertained. She brought out an assortment of board games, engaging Emily and Jake in a friendly competition of Monopoly. She regaled them with fantastical tales of knights and princesses, dragons and wizards, watching their eyes light up with wonder and excitement. As the evening wore on, the storm outside grew more fierce. The wind howled and the rain lashed against the windows, creating an eerie symphony that echoed through the old house. The flickering lights cast long haunting shadows that danced on the walls, enhancing the strange, unsettling atmosphere. In the midst of this, Lily heard something unusual. A faint whispering sound, barely audible above the din of the storm. She dismissed it initially, attributing it to the wind or the creaking of the old house. But the whispering continued, a soft, murmuring sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Lily decided to check on Emily and Jake, expecting to find them giggling under their blankets, trying to spook their babysitter. But to her surprise, she found them fast asleep, their faces peaceful and innocent in the soft glow of their nightlight. The room was silent except for the soft snores of the children and the relentless pattering of the rain against the window. Puzzled, Lily returned to the living room, her mind buzzing with questions. If the children were asleep, then where were the whispers coming from? She listened intently, straining her ears to catch the elusive sound. It was faint, but unmistakable. The whispers were still there, and they were growing louder. Now truly alarmed, Lily began to investigate the source of the strange noises. She found herself drawn towards the old staircase, its wooden steps groaning under her weight. As she ascended, the whispers seemed to grow louder, more insistent, guiding her into the unknown. At the top of the staircase, she discovered a narrow passage leading to the attic, a part of the house she had never ventured into before. A sense of foreboding washed over her, but the whispers urged her on. With a deep breath, she pushed the attic door open, her heart pounding in her chest. As her eyes adjusted to the dim light, Lily found herself in a room filled with shadows and dust. But it was what lay in the center of the room that made her gasp in disbelief. There, under the faint glow of the attic window, were antique baby cribs, each one housing a porcelain doll. Their painted faces and glassy eyes stared back at her, creating a tableau of eerie innocence. She walked closer, her curiosity piqued despite her fear. The cribs were old, their wood chipped and paint peeling. The dolls, on the other hand, were in pristine condition, their faces unblemished and their dresses immaculate. It was as if time had forgotten them, leaving them untouched in this forgotten attic. But it was the whispers that filled the room that chilled her to the bone. They were no longer just whispers, but distinct voices, their words clear and haunting. We're lonely, we're longing. We want to play with a real babysitter. The realization hit her like a cold gust of wind. The source of the whispers was not some unseen entity, but the dolls themselves. They were the ones calling out to her, their porcelain faces masking a lonely existence. Their words echoed around her, their longing for companionship evident in their eerie chorus. It was a discovery that turned her blood to ice, a chilling revelation that left her speechless. The attic, the cribs, the dolls, it was all part of a disturbing mystery that she had unwittingly stumbled upon. And as the dolls continued their haunting whispers, Lily realized she was in the company of something truly sinister. They spoke of loneliness, longing, and a desire to play with a real babysitter. Terrified, Lily ran downstairs to find her phone and call for help, but it had mysteriously disappeared. Her heart hammered in her chest like a drum, each beat echoing her mounting fear. The once familiar house now felt like a labyrinth of dread, a place where every shadow hid a threat. The storm outside mirrored the turmoil within her, the thunderclaps sounding like the drumbeat of her impending doom. She was trapped like a fly in a web, and the spiders were closing in. The dolls, those eerie porcelain-faced creatures, were inching closer. With every tick of the clock, their whispers grew louder, more insistent. Their words were a cacophony of desperation, echoing in the attic and seeping into every corner of the house. They spoke of loneliness and longing, their voices an eerie lullaby that filled the air with an unsettling chill. Lily could feel their gaze burning into her, their lifeless eyes filled with a hunger that seemed almost human. She could see them moving closer, their porcelain hands reaching out for her. The air around her seemed to thicken, the whispers growing louder, more urgent. They were desperate, and their desperation fueled her own. The storm outside was in full fury now. The wind howled like a wild beast, the rain lashing against the windows. Lightning illuminated the house in stark, horrifying flashes, casting long, grotesque shadows that danced and flickered with a life of their own. Each bolt of lightning seemed to bring the dolls closer, their whispers now a deafening roar in her ears. As the storm reached its peak, a bolt of lightning struck the house. The world around her exploded in a blinding flash of light. The dolls shrieked, and Lily felt an unseen force pushing her towards the attic door. With a surge of adrenaline, she ran, her fear giving her the strength to burst through the door and tumble down the stairs, landing in the living room just as the storm began to recede. Panic set in as the dolls inched closer, their whispers growing more desperate. But for now, Lily was safe. She had escaped the attic, escaped the dolls, escaped the Midnight Cradle, or so she thought. Just as she thought all hope was lost, the storm outside intensified, sending a bolt of lightning through the attic window. The light illuminated the ghastly scene in the attic. The stark faces of the dolls were thrown into sharp relief. The dolls shrieked in unison, their voices reaching a chilling crescendo that echoed through the old house. The air seemed to crackle with an otherworldly energy, the whispers of the dolls growing louder and more desperate. The lightning bolt, as if guided by some unseen hand, struck a metal rod near the attic window. The dolls were momentarily silenced, their porcelain faces reflecting the blinding light. In that moment, Lily felt a surge of adrenaline. She could see an escape route, a chance to flee from this nightmare. Barely daring to breathe, Lily began to move. Her heart pounded in her chest as she inched towards the attic door. The dolls seemed to sense her movement and began to stir, their whispers returning in a haunting chorus. But Lily was determined. She gathered her strength and lunged for the door. The force of her movement sent her tumbling down the old staircase. Each step she hit seemed to jolt her further from the horror of the attic. She landed with a thud in the living room, the eerie whispers of the dolls fading into the distance. Outside, the storm was calming. The howling wind had reduced to a gentle breeze, and the rain was slowly subsiding. The old house seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. The storm had passed, and Mrs. Johnson returned home to find Lily shaken but alive. She was alarmed at Lily's disheveled state, but relieved that her children were safe. As she comforted Lily, the teenager found herself unable to explain the night's terrifying events. But as Lily looked back at the old house, she couldn't shake off the feeling that she was still being watched. Even as she left the Johnsons' home, the memory of the Midnight Cradle lingered, a chilling reminder of the night she would never forget.